I already saw it should be communal. You should have maybe people, peers, friends to maybe even articulate it with.
Yes.
Right, like this. I
Yes.
think
Right.
none of us would have come to this
Right.
alone. And so in our conversation together, we're able to articulate something that's even beyond ourselves, right?
Mhm.
So what other word?
I mean, I
of
think we've said something about honoring tradition and yet being able to raise some questions about it, that it's not the only thing in the world, and it shouldn't, if it's too rigid, it breaks. I mean,
I'd like to say that we should always count on people to imagine it differently, and that we want to hear what people imagine. So I look to this class that you have now, and I say, we don't have all the answers around this table. You have answers we don't have.
Right.
And I feel like let imagination run freely so that you can hear different kinds of things sparkle.
When one of my friends turned 40, she said, I'm not going to speak of growing older, I'm going to speak of growing down, growing deeper.
mm-hmm.
And I think that that's what,
The tree.
Back to
like
the
the
roots.
tree. I know, I guess I'm very predictable.
But I love that image.
Consistent.
It's
Consistent,
Yeah.
Mary,
image.
consistent.
I think the other thing that I've heard is that we shape this theology ministry really in the context of people's lives. You know,
Mm-hmm.
not out of a textbook, not out of a classroom, but really in the context of people, human beings.
Especially in a seminary setting, I think this is the time where don't be afraid to proclaim who God is for you, or spirit, or whatever term it is that you want to use, and bring it into conversation with your tradition. This is not the place where it gets handed to you, and this is the time where you have the opportunity to try to work out those kinks. But unless you are willing to be honest about who you feel God is for you, outside of your tradition even, and then bring them into conversation with each other, there's going to be a disconnection.
Elizabeth Johnson has a wonderful image of, she calls God the wither of our experience, you know, always leading, you know, always ahead of us. And so that evoked that in me, that you know, that you never arrive at who God is for you.
Right, but if you don't practice some language
Yes.
about God, I mean, whatever name you would have, I mean, I think that is an important piece of it, otherwise it can become
Stale.
simply a kind of, well, either stale or just a kind of sociological study. I mean, you know, I think we're really wrestling here with where does God fit in with all of this, and it's a time to really practice talking about that with one another.
And I think that's the place where you also discover how much of your tradition you can claim for yourself.
Uh-huh.